Hey y'all, so Tulsi Gabbard has literally read everybody and their mama for filth, okay? I'm talking the CIA, intelligence, the DNC, everybody. Everybody, everybody. So I just had to share this with y'all. This is from the Hill. Um let's take a look at this. So, Tulsi Gabbard, presidential candidates must also condemn election interference by U.S. intelligence agencies. This was just too good, and I just had to go over this with y'all. Reckless claims by anonymous intelligence officials that Russia is helping Senator Bernie Sanders are deeply irresponsible. So was former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg's calculated decision Tuesday to repeat these unsubstantiated accusations on the debate stage in South Carolina. Enough is enough. I am calling on all presidential candidates to stop playing these dangerous political games and immediately condemn any interference in our elections by out of control intelligence agencies. A news article published last week in the Washington Post, which set off yet another manufactured media firestorm, alleges that the goal of Russia is to trick people into criticizing establishment Democrats. This is a laughably obvious ploy to stifle legitimate criticism and cast aspersions on Americans who are rightly skeptical of the powerful forces exerting control over the primary election process. We are told the aim of Russia is to sow division, but the aim of corporate media and self-serving politicians pushing this narrative is clearly to sow division of their own by generating baseless suspicion against the Sanders campaign. It's extremely disingenuous for journalists and rival candidates to publicize a news article that merely asserts, without presenting any evidence, that Russia is helping Bernie Sanders, but provides no information as to what that help allegedly consists of. The American people have the right to know this information in order to put Russia's alleged interference into proper perspective. It is a mystery why the intelligence community will want to hide these details from us. Instead, it is relying on highly dubious and vague insinuations filtered through its preferred media outlets, which seem designed to create a panic rather than actually inform the public about a genuine threat. All this does is undermine voters' trust in our elections, which is what we are constantly told is the goal of Russia. If the CIA, FBI, or any other intelligence agency is going to tell voters that Russians are interfering in this election to help certain candidates or simply sow discord, then it needs to immediately provide us with the details of what exactly it's alleging. Otherwise, all it is doing is fomenting a sense of powerlessness and paranoia in the voting public, which could suppress engagement in the electoral process, and at least according to the anonymous officials speaking menacingly to the media, that is precisely what Russia wants. This is scathing, honey. This is tea. This is tea, okay? If our political leaders and those in the media were really concerned with protecting the integrity of our elections from outside manipulation instead of just making money from manufactured hysteria, y'all, this almost sounds like I'm with this, okay? They would presumably devote more coverage to proposals. We talking solutions here. To institute backup paper ballots, which would ensure that no malicious actors can ever alter our votes or hack into our election infrastructure. The bill I introduced last year, the Securing America's Elections Act, does exactly that. See, that's a woman after my own heart right there. See, Tulsi Gabbard, it's like, this is the problem, this is the solution. This is the problem, this is how we fix it. Y'all are not telling us the truth. You're not giving us the whole story. You're giving us half a story and no solutions. You keep instilling this in us, parroting these Russia talking points to create hysteria and paranoia, yet you aren't doing anything about it. Goes on to say, but the media has never shown much interest because it would not generate the so-called bombshell headlines they so desperately crave. The FBI, CIA, or any other intelligence agency should immediately stop smearing presidential candidates with innuendo and vague, evidence-free assertions. This is antithetical to the role those agencies play in a free democracy. The American people cannot have faith in our intelligence agencies if they are pushing an agenda to harm candidates they dislike. Okay? Tulsi knows. Tulsi knows Russiagate is BS. She knows this. As do they all. Any attempts to keep the American people quiet with the threat that if they dare criticize the Democratic Party establishment, they will be labeled hostile foreign agents are unacceptable, and disgraceful. This new McCarthyism must be renounced by every presidential candidate. Otherwise, we must conclude they lack the foresight and integrity required to lead our country. Now I feel like she's calling some people out. If candidates are too afraid to stand up against those who would suppress the voices of the American people with McCarthyist smears, they are not real leaders. They are just power-hungry, self-serving politicians whose goal is to act as president, rather than actually defend the freedoms enshrined in our Constitution. It is now clear that the mainstream corporate media and the warmongering political establishment are seeking to do two things: create enough suspicion around Sanders by falsely tarnishing him as a puppet of Russia that he loses the election, or at the very least, if Bernie wins the Democratic nomination, force him to engage in inflammatory anti-Russia rhetoric and perpetuate the new Cold War and nuclear arms race, which are existential threats to our country around the world. Now, the real question is Bernie going to come out and stand up? Is Bernie going to stand up? Is he going to stand up for himself? I just talked to y'all about this about 2 weeks ago. We talked about it in my live video, how they are now talking about Russia helping Bernie. How convenient. All right, the same Russiagate, the same theories, the same BS that Bernie propagated and was totally behind and totally turned a blind eye to the last few years is now going to turn around and bite him in the butt. Okay, that strategy worked very well with President Trump. Trump has spent his entire presidency trying to prove to the media that he is not Putin's puppet by carrying out extremely aggressive policies that have brought us closer to nuclear war with Russia than we have in decades. Finally, we have somebody here telling the truth. You still have a media that claims that Russia, Donald Trump is some type of Russian puppet, yet he has put these stringent sanctions on Russia, selling arms to Ukraine so they can protect themselves, doing all kind of things over the last few years to show, hey, I'm not this Russian puppet that y'all say that I am. If Sanders is a Democratic nominee, the corporate media will do everything they can to turn the general election into a contest of who is going to be tougher on Russia. This tactic is necessary to propagandize the American people into shelling over their hard-earned tax dollars to the Pentagon to fund the highly lucrative nuclear arms race that the military-industrial complex craves. In the most recent appropriation bills last year, the Pentagon was handed $738 billion, which includes a blank check for the dangerous nuclear warheads and destabilizing missile systems that increase the likelihood of catastrophic war with Russia. The question facing any potential Democratic nominee is this: am I going to allow myself to be manipulated and forced into a corner by overreaching intelligence agencies and the corporate media, where in the order for me to win the presidency, I'm going to have to do what I know is not in the interest of the American people and world peace? Or will I stand up to the corrupt, neocon, and neoliberal establishment, condemn their lies and their smears, and act with integrity and foresight necessary to forge a rational policy that will serve all of our interests? The problem with Trump is that he talks tough against the media and the intelligence agencies, but he was not strong enough to stand up to their pressure. He was cowed into trying to prove that he's not a puppet of Russia, and as a consequence has brought us closer and closer to nuclear war. The Democratic nominee cannot make the same mistake. Our country and the world are depending on it. Honey, that right there was scathing. Do you hear me? Scathing. This lady condemned the CIA, the FBI, the warmongers, the DNC, the neoliberals, the neocons. She took up for Bernie and went after Bernie in the same sentences. How you gonna come for Bernie and take up for Bernie in the same letter? But that's what we have here. And it's true. It's true. And this is a big reason, okay, why Tulsi Gabbard, there has been blackouts in the media concerning Tulsi Gabbard. This is why the DNC has been working overtime to change rules so candidates like this will not make it to the debate stage. But this is the truth. And this is one of my biggest problems with Bernie. And Tulsi puts it right here beautifully. A lot of this stuff that she has talked about, I have talked about this. The media manipulation, how the media works with the DNC, the warmongering that's happening. But it's the truth. If Bernie Sanders cannot stand up before the American people and be like, look, y'all know this Russia crap, it was lies, it was smears, it was BS. Not only did I help propagate this, now they're going to try to use it against me. And in the future, they could use it to push us into war with Russia, okay? We know the DNC are warmongers, along with several Republicans. But this is what we need. These are the type of voices we need in front of the cameras. These are the people we need to hold people in the DNC accountable to tell the truth and focus on what really matters. And I'm talking about this letter is scathing, honey, hot. And that more people aren't talking about this is mind-boggling to me. But I don't care what anybody has to say. I commend Tulsi Gabbard for these type of things. I commend Tulsi Gabbard for calling out the DNC, for calling out Hillary Clinton, for having Bernie's back when nobody has her back. But if like she said, if the DNC and Democrats do not come together to stand up for the American people and put all these lies and smears behind, it is not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair to the American people. It's not. It's just not. And so I commend her for this. And I have tweeted several times for Bernie Sanders to do the same. And it just doesn't look like he's ever going to do that. It just doesn't, he'll drop hints here and there, like we talked about in my previous video. He'll drop hints and hints here and there, like when they were interviewing him and they were asking him, why do you think that the information just came out from the CIA that Russia is trying to help you? And he's like, why do you think just now, the day before a primary? So it's infuriating to me to not see more people rallying behind this cause to drop the smears, drop all the foolishness. But we know why. It's very similar to the reason that Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar drop out a day before Super Tuesday and endorse Joe Biden, because they get those calls to their phone saying, hey, if you play by our rules, we'll set you up for future nominations and future book deals and future seats and future this and future that. But those are my thoughts. Leave your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.